Hello and welcome. Today I am going to be showing you another project on the Let's Make Minis series. And today we're going to be making these cute, adorable envelopes. So these are pretty much basic envelopes and they're very easy to make, but they are miniature size. I don't have a punch for them, like the mini punch board, so I am going to be showing you how to make them on your own. I have 3 different sizes here, and I always like to create templates for myself when I am making these things. Right now we're going to be creating the first one, which is going to be a 1 by 1 1/4 size envelope. So for that I am using 1 3/4 inch square of piece of paper. You can use these from your scraps as well. So all I do here is I cut my little template out of some type of cardstock that is thick or chipboard, and I am just folding, center it as much as I can and folding the creases on each one. Now I come back with my bond folder to reinforce those creases to make sure that they're nice and flat, but you could also use the back of a pen or your finger or your nail to do that. Now next to that I am going to be cutting these little corners on each one where the creases met. So this is just so that way your envelope doesn't have that extra bulk and it makes it look nicer and cleaner. So once I have all of those cut out, I just have to fold my envelope. Now you have different options of leaving it as is, but you can also round the corners. In this case, I am rounding both the top and the bottom flap, and I am going to be using some glue to glue them together. So just add a little bit and close it up. I did not erase the writing that I did there because I am going to be adding a piece of paper that is going to be covering it. So just kind of like a little letter inside. That's pretty much that little envelope, and I will leave the sizes below so that way just in case that you want to do it or you want to do the same sizes that I did. Now the next one I am using a 1.5 inch square of paper. Same thing, I am going to be centering it as best as I can onto the paper, and this paper is the size of it is 1/2 inch of the square, and the envelopes turns out to be 1 by 3/4. So this is a little bit more of a rectangle. I do the same process of, kind of scoring or folding the edges of where it should be. And here I thought that it moved a little bit, so I am just going back and pressing just to make sure that there's no it's not off. So I just went back and did it again. You could do it with your fingernail, you could do it with a pencil, whatever you have, just to kind of press those creases a little bit more and flatten your envelope. Now this one you'll be able to see that the corners that I used are a little bit bigger, so you'll be able to see them more, and I am cutting it here. So just kind of play with the size of the paper or the envelopes that you want to make. Just play around and see what you like making. Now once I am happy with it, I am going to finish my envelope, and for this one I decided to just cut a straight edge on that bottom flap. The top one is just gonna stay like that, and then sometimes from time to time you'll have those little corners. If you didn't trim them all the way, you can just trim them at the end. The next one I'm going to be showing you is one of these little I think they're called policy envelopes. So this is a super tiny one and it's so adorable. It even has a little piece of paper inside that obviously got stuck because I couldn't get it out. So my tweezers came to rescue me. So that's a little paper, and I'm going to be showing you. For this one, I am using a 2 by 1 3/4 inch paper, and I am going to be measuring on the 2-inch side 9/16 of an inch on each end. You could flip it if you want, if that's easier for you, but in this case I'm just counting back from the backwards, and then I am just going to either draw a line, but in this case I am using the edge of my ruler just to make those creases, as I do not need to draw the line. You can certainly do it if you want to. So once I have both of those creases made or score marks made, I'm just going to reinforce it with my bone folder. And now on the bottom, to create the little flaps, it's about 1/4 of an inch. I did kind of half measure that, and then I am just going to be creasing it. For the second one, I decided to eyeball it because it's not that big, and it's not that big of a deal if the size is not super perfect. So that's all I did here. I'm just pressing it down, making sure that it's straight, and that's all you need to do. Now on this one, I am going to be erasing a little bit of those markings that I did just in case, so they don't show. So we are going to also be trimming this all on the corners on each one, and I am going to show you here just cutting the straight edge. But on the second one, I'm going to show you what I do, which is cut a little bit at an angle to create just a little bit of an angle on both sides, and then you'll see in a second how it shows. The reason why I did the first one straight is so that you could see the process and how the difference, how it looks. But once you've done this, you could just go and cut it straight like this. So once I have it ready, I am just going to be adding a little bit of glue, and that's going to be my little envelope. So now choose which flap you want to be the one that closes. Obviously, if you are using directional paper, you want to make sure you're doing the right one. But that's pretty much it, and now it's ready for me to put a little note in there. So I am gonna show you here, going to grab that little one that I had, and it fits in there nicely. So that's my two little envelopes, and I am going to show you one more right here, how I did this one, or how I decorated them. So this one I just added a little heart on the front and the back, and is ready for me to add a little note card. This one was a little bit bigger, so I'm just trimming it just a bit to add it in there. And you could put tiny little goodies in there. Would be perfect to send in Happy Mail, I think, but it would be super cool. Now I just kind of zoomed there a little bit so I can show you the ones that I created, or the things that I did with them. So here I created a paper clip. I kind of made it look like an envelope that was already addressed, and I put one of those little conversational hearts, with different words inside before I glued the whole thing. So it just kind of sits there, super cute. And then here is another one. This one I put a little note that says love you, and I put a flower on the outside to decorate it. So these are perfect for planners. And this one is one of my favorites. I did the same thing, I addressed it, but this one I lined it with gold paper, which looks just beautiful. And this other one is a lot smaller than that first one that we made, that it was 1 by 1 1/4. And then this other one is about the same size, but this one I put it on a rosette so you can use it for embellishments, and I left it open with some goodies. Now this one, I am going to be giving the credit of the idea to my husband, because I was showing him what I was doing, and he said, well, why don't you put in like little magnets? Those would be nice. And yeah, he's a genius. So I put a little magnet on that one, and you can see that it works perfect. Here I created a little simple tag, adding that little envelope, and I left again the little flap open so I could add a little note in there. And then you can just close it or keep it open if you want. But I added a little tiny glue dot there so that way you can open it and close it, maybe put another little love note or goodies. Now the next one I did was a card, and instead of just making a card with the envelopes, as a show, I did added goodies on them. So this one has a little image that I color as an embellishment, and then some little flat back dots and little flowers. And the cool thing about these ones is that I added removable glue dots, so that way when you send it to, if you send it to a crafty friend, they can take them off and use them. So there you have that. And now I am going to show you what is probably my two most favorites. So this is this cute little policy envelope, and the reason why it's my favorite is because the polka dots are just so cute, but because I decided to make this one more realistic. I added these little punches of I think it was about 1/8 of an inch punch, and I stacked them. I added a piece of thread, and I made it like you're able to close it. It is super adorable. So there's that one, and then this one is a little charm. So this one is super tiny. The size of it I think was about 7/8 of an inch piece of paper, and the final one is 1/2 inch by 5/8. It's super tiny. I was trying to show you the measurements there, but my camera wasn't focusing. And on this one, I just added a little bit of gold accents, to kind of match the gold chain and charm, and then a little note in there. But yeah, these were super fun to make and cute, I think. And yeah, so here I am just going to show you. For these other envelopes, I left them so you can open them. I used some of my tumble glue that I added a little dot, let it dry before you close it, and that becomes tacky, so you can use it kind of like a removable dot. Now here's another super tiny one that I made, and this one was about I think 2 by 1 3/4 or 1 1/4 by 7/8. I'm sorry. And then here is a bigger one, just that can be used as an embellishment. So that's pretty much all of the ones I made. And now I'm going to show you how I put the paper clip, just in case that you don't know how to do that. Okay, so to create this, the very first thing I'm going to do is cut a slit down on the bottom. And I had already done this before, but all you need is cut it down the center, and this is where you're going to be inserting your paper clip. Now, to secure it or to glue it onto it, I am using hot glue, but you can use whatever type of glue that you want. I'm just adding a very thin layer on all areas, just being careful that I don't burn my fingers. I'm going to add all of this. These little envelopes and paper clips turn out to be super cute. You could use them for journals or for planners. They'll be super cute to add even to Happy Mail. And I had a lot of fun creating all of these. I hope that you guys are enjoying this Make mini series. I do have a couple of other things in mind, but I'll show you guys later. And I hope that you give these a try. I'll leave the measurements again on the ones I made down below. But again, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next video.